This is Munda, famous Jap coffin corner on New Georgia Island. Here, for 38 savage days and nights, occurred some of the bitterest fighting in the Central Solomons. And this is the start of a routine day. As a battalion of highly trained engineers set out to rebuild Munda's strategic airfield for American bombers and fighting planes. For Munda is a vital link in the system of roads and airfields circling Rabaul, and a key base of the first importance when it comes to blasting Jap shipping and harassing Jap transports in the South Pacific. The work on Munda demands skill in a dozen different trades. After the blueprints are studied carefully, the level of this wrecked airfield is sighted. Coral that was once used by the Jap for bulwarks against our point-blank mortar and artillery fire is now used by these men to fill in the bomb holes. The heavy equipment is handled with dexterity and kept in first-rate working order. Each part is checked. Every motor is oiled and greased. As these men know, they can't write the factory for replacements. The job on Munda also demands courage. For here in the South Pacific, every island is the front line, and every moment holds the threat of returning enemy bombers and fighters. Build and build quickly. Fill in the holes. Level the earth. Hack it down hard. On this steaming island with its rotting undergrowth, its swamps, its twin-engined malarial mosquitoes, the precious field must be rebuilt in record time so that our planes can land and take off by the hundreds. Back at camp, mail gets a #1 priority. Letters are flown halfway around the world by the Army so these men can know what's happening in Louisville, Ann Arbor, Los Angeles. Afterwards, the men get a chance to relax and eat the food that has become the fuel for one of the toughest, most lonely jobs in this war. Out here in the middle of the world, a tent serves as a chapel, and the men listen to the gospel according to St. John. Later, there are hymns. Nightlife is limited to the Munda Cotton Club. There's no cover charge, also no floor show, no Duke Ellington or Lena Horne. But you can play cards or write a letter, telling the folks back home what it's like, how Munda protects our grip on the Solomons, and the road we're building that leads toward Rabaul and Truk, the Lincoln Highway to Tokyo.
That's me over there, the second one in line. And I am a very sad Jeep my first day as a civilian. Here I am with a medical discharge, and it looks like I'm ending up in a junkyard. But the specialists go to work on me, and in a couple of days I am pulling a 26,000-pound truck like it is a 37-millimeter gun. Naturally, when the word gets around that me and a dozen of my buddies are discharged from the Army, the telephone lines into Chicago are jammed. And the lucky man to get me is one Fred Heine, the mayor of Lucas, Kansas. You could have knocked me over with a pedestrian at the first job the mayor gives me, hauling a load of real live pinups. The big pitch is a war bond rally. And naturally, being fresh from the fighting fronts, I am the chief attraction, especially as I am making my first appearance as a civilian. A very important event. And pipe those civics, huh? Fancy seat covers and a red paint job. I help unload a great many war bonds that day. And I get a chance to study the pinups, which I had never seen in the flesh before. They're nice machinery, all right. The next day, the mayor turns me over to the missus, who is a very fine lady, although I find out later a little heavy on the clutch. I towed her around, calling on the neighbors, shopping in town. But at the bottom of my carburetor, I am not a happy Jeep at all. And the pinups say I am a very cute character indeed, so I'm on my best behavior. But all the time, I keep thinking what my old outfit would say if they could see the work I was doing now. The Jeep was never cut out for this kind of life. But I am getting worry lines for nothing. Because one day I find a wagon attached to my rear end, and I am working. I began to change my mind about the pinups. Maybe the guys were right about the dolls being good for something, because it seems that they're doing most of the work on the farm. Of course, I gotta admit, working with dames does have certain advantages. What a touch. And right in my most ticklish spot. There was never anything like this in Italy. And when they step on the accelerator, brother, I think I'm gonna blow my spark plugs. Right away, the mayor gets hep to the fact that I take to farming like little Bo Peep, making with the fertilizer, hauling ice, doing every job a hay burner does, only better. When I round up this ration on the hoof, I pretend like they are the Nazis I rode herd on in Africa and have quite a time for myself. The moos take one look at me and know I mean business. Why, it is just like being in them Western pictures. Hi-yo, Jeep. Oh, you want to start something, huh? Hit the road, bum, before I mow you down and make spam out of you. I am not one to blow my own horn, as the saying goes, but frankly, the mayor doesn't make a move without me. And frankly, this is just fine with yours truly, because being a hayseed, I find most agreeable. And if you get my point, I'm still doing my bit for the war. And I'm right in there pitching from reveille to retreat. To quote my friend, the mayor, I'm well, he can't get along without me. As witness, my job of fence riding. With me, he can carry the repair equipment right with him. Just the other day, the mayor looks at me and says, war stinks. But something good has come out of it already. And I wanted to tell him it's only the beginning, Mayor. Only the beginning.
This is Stalingrad. Almost before the last German was killed or captured, the young people of Stalingrad were at work rebuilding their heroic city. This is where 300,000 of Hitler's crack troops were encircled and destroyed, where the Red Army wrote finish to defense in depth and changed the course of the entire war. Here, 1,500 miles from Berlin, was the last stop on Hitler's march of death and destruction. Here's where the goose step went into reverse. The Nazis had seized territory twice the size of Texas. Then in January 1943, even before the victory at Stalingrad was completed, the Red Army struck. That winter, 185,000 square miles were torn from the Nazi grasp. This was just the beginning. That summer, the Red Army launched the greatest strategic offensive in history. Orel and Belgorod. August 23rd, Kharkov. Novorossiysk and Taman. Bryansk, Smolensk, the Dnieper River, Kiev, Zitomir. And the spring of 1944 found the Red Army more than halfway from Stalingrad to Berlin, driving the last Nazis from the soil of Russia, smashing forward again and again on the battle line of 1,200 miles. September 1943, Bryansk Front. Generals of the Red Army today are young men, aggressive men. Commander-in-Chief of this sector is General Popov. Young, aggressive. Coordination and timing on a tremendous scale. That's Red Army strategy. tanks which are more than tanks. They're running artillery. Infantry and tanks attack together. An offensive unit of men and steel. A lot of these automatic rifles are Lend-Lease equipment from us. That's a camera with a telescopic lens. And here's what the camera sees a half-mile away. Watch. Next, help from the rear of the enemy lines. Organized guerrillas attack behind the German positions. This is the objective, the city of Bryansk. The city itself becomes a battlefield, a place for hand-to-hand encounter. No tanks can do this job. And this is work that has to be done the hard way, by the infantry. Street by street, house by house, floor by floor. No matter what the cost. Bryansk is retaken. Not all the Germans were killed. A lot of them were captured. This is the enemy. Your enemy. It's no use studying their faces. The faces tell you nothing. They look like very ordinary people. Maybe once, a long time ago, they were ordinary people. Farmers and bank clerks and schoolboys. But today, they are the men who have spread fire and death across the face of Europe. No, not from their faces, but from their actions you will know them, as the Russians have known them. Wherever the Nazis have gone, they have looted, pillaged, murdered. Bryansk, like hundreds of other cities and villages, is completely destroyed. They were here for 2 years, the Germans, she says. Look what they did to our town. And look over there. Restricted zone, no trespassing. What were the Germans trying to hide? The men and women of Russia, and decent people everywhere in the world, will never forget these things, nor forgive them. The persons responsible for these crimes face a terrible justice. This is a time for rejoicing. There is laughter and there is shouting, but not without tears. There are many who cannot join this celebration. They are gone. They lie in the dark lime pits and the hidden graves. But these are the living, and this is a new day, Their town has been torn from the bloody hands of the murderers and given back to them. Freedom from fear. Freedom to worship. Bryansk is ours. One little crossroads in the long path to victory and a lasting peace. In Moscow, the Russians salute another battle won. A battle won for them and for us.
First class, at your service. Now, gentlemen, the purpose of camouflage is to conceal things you do not wish to be seen. Now, the first man in history to use camouflage was Adam, back in the Garden of Eden. But, gentlemen, the fig leaf today is not enough. Modern camouflage is an art and a science, if used intelligently. Take cover, stupid. Take cover. Uh-oh. Them tracks, they reveal your position. What about them tracks? What about that track? Bitte, mein Herr, haben Sie ein Like? Danke. Of course, the enemy sometimes uses camouflage, too. Of course, Snafu. Shadows sometimes move. You may fire when ready, Von Gridley. So, gentlemen, if you want to fool them, remember this. Just make yourself part of the natural surroundings. See what I mean?